Now 2 Englishmen are keen to make an impact in Australia. Young lion Jamie Wall and seasoned professional Patrick Watts, driving in our series for the first time.
I think it reinforces the fact that super touring is a true international class, and that it's very simple for people to either bring drivers or bring cars from overseas and race here. The fact that Patrick and Jamie Wall are both here is a tremendous fillip for the championship and a real boost to us.
Both Jamie and Patrick have experienced a little of the Australian scene driving at Bathurst. It was enough to ensure that when the chance to come down under cropped up, both leapt at it, even though they knew they'd have to do a bit of quick adapting. Now, the weather up here in Queensland this weekend is pretty mild. How are you finding it?
If this is mild, I've got no hope. I feel like I'm sat in a sauna when I'm driving the car at the moment. But I'm actually getting used to it. The first session was a little bit of a shock. I thought, oh, this is very warm, but I'll get used to that quite quickly.
Jamie Wall, who's just turned 22, is considered a driver on the way up. He's currently campaigning Mark Adderton's Honda Accord, but has his eyes set on something else for the remainder of the Australian series.
Our main aim for the year is to bring out a British Nissan to run in the series. The Honda this year, for this weekend, we're driving is really a media. It's just to get me some track time, just work out what some of these guys do in race situations and start to sort of really feel what the championship's about.
Patrick Watts, at 42, is a veteran of the BTCC series and a former works driver for Peugeot. The car he's racing in Australia is the latest racing version from the UK.
I know a bit about the car. I know how to set a car up. I'm working with Paul Grimm, who's a good engineer who knows the car as well. And when we first started going around here 2 days ago, the car was set up for Michelin's. We're now on the Control Yokohamas. So the first thing to do was get the car working on a tyre that the car wasn't really designed for. And I think we've progressed quite quickly there because I know what I wanted in the car. Paul Grimm knows how to make the car work according to what I want.
The former British saloon car champion, in his 1997 appearance at Bathurst, driving the works Peugeot with Neil Crompton, ran as high as 3rd before having to retire. But if he feels the burden of high expectations in this series, he doesn't show it.
Of course there's pressure, but I've been there, seen it, done it. It doesn't matter. I will enjoy the racing. We're going to have a good battle up front. Hopefully me, Jim, Paul Morris. You know, I think we're going to be up there, maybe Brad as well. We're going to have a bit of fun.
Already in qualifying, Patrick has shown he'll live up to those high expectations. And indeed, he has lofty targets.
I'd like to end up as Australian Touring Car Champion.
Coming up, it's time to start those engines for race 1 of the BOC Gases Super Tourer Shootout. Back here at Lakeside Raceway, a tremendous atmosphere settling over this very enthusiastic crowd. Well, Lakeside is 2.41 kilometres of tortured tarmac. It is one of the toughest runs in Australia. Let's go for a ride around the circuit with Patrick Watts.
Hi there, my name is Patrick Watts. I'm from Britain. I'm racing for the Starion Peugeot team in the first round of the Super Touring Championship, sponsored by BOC. And I'm taking you for a lap of Lakeside. We've just been with a controversial, almost flat out, but not quite, kink 220k and back into the 3rd gear, up and down roller coaster type equivalent of a corner which I'm very familiar with at Alton Park, the name escapes me. The dodgiest bit of this circuit, under SO, under Dunlop Bridge here, which is very tricky in the wet. Down to Hungary Corner, so named because apparently the bit on the outside eats cars if you crash. 3rd gear, top corner, keep it in, bit slippery on the outside. 2nd, 3rd, 4th gear. Good exit out of this corner is important. 5th, 6th, that is a lap at Lakeside.
There's enough to get the adrenaline pumping. A ride around for a lap at Lakeside. Well, the cars are just about set for dispatch. Paul Morris is amongst the starters. Let's go down to Charles Stewart.
Paul, front row of the grid for your first race back. This will be an important moment for you.
Certainly is. I'm a little bit nervous, actually. Haven't been like this for a while. I'm just, want to get a good start and try and get to that corner first.
With rear-wheel drive, do you think that's going to give you a bit of an advantage right here at the start?
I certainly hope so. I'm counting on it.
Well, all the best. It's a critical moment.
Thank you.
Certainly good to see Paul Morris back in action, and what a pace setter he's been so far this weekend. Cars are moving off on the warm-up lap. Won't be too long before we have the grid up for you for round one, race one of the BOC Gases Super Touring Championship of Australia. Patrick Watts and Paul Morris share the front row on the grid. Row number 2 made up of the veteran Jimmy Richards and Brad Jones, the first of the Audis. The third row is made up of newcomer Matt Coleman and John Henderson in the Vectra, one to watch perhaps. The next row, Peter Hills of Sydney, and sharing that row is Mark Williamson in the Volvo. Then it's Dean Canto, a 55.32, and Jamie Ward with a 56.00. Anthony Robson is the next driver, then Jimmy Cornish, a 56.66, and that leaves David Auger and Milton Leslite, 58.52. And the last row, Malcolm Ray and Troy Searle, a non-qualifier, because Troy does not compete in any sport on Saturday because of religious beliefs. Here come the cars. It's not going to be too long before they get off the line. And we have the Super Pom, Paddy Watts, taking on Paul Morris on the front row.
Well, he's got a super flame out coming out of the rear of the car, Mike. I think he's in trouble. He's pulled over to the side of the track.
Well, he's
got some difficulties.
Yeah, he's stepping out of the car, so he has a major problem. What terrible luck for this team, because Watts has done everything right by them so far.
Yes, he's looking down disconcertedly. He's definitely bailing out. No sign of a fire under the bonnet, but a lot of flames out of the back of that little Peugeot.
Well, Patrick Watts exits race one of round one of the Super Touring Championship of Australia, and there he steps in behind the car to help them move the car back into pit lane. Well, so much was expected of this driver, and to be honest with the team, they've been on the pace since they came to Lakeside. He settled down so superbly here on Thursday. He's got faster at each session. Stand by, we're awaiting the start now. The BOC Gases Super Touring Championship of Australia, race one. Paul Morris off the line, lights them up. Jimmy Richards gets a great start, and Brad Jones carries up, comes up on the inside as they head down towards the carousel for the first time.
Yeah, great start by Jimmy. He's in the right position to come tight right here now. No one's going to jump in on the inside, although the Vectra tried. Through the horseshoe of the carousel, they have to keep it tight through the exit of this corner there, but one of the Audis not so tight.
That was John Henderson in the Vectra who came up and bumped wheels there with Brad Jones. He's in amongst the action, but that set Brad Jones back in the pack just a little bit as they race down to Hungary for the first time.
Again through a left-hander here, very
well, Henderson's gone off again.
There you have it. You can't slide through the corner. You've got to stay on the tarmac.
Well, I hope he can stay there, otherwise he's knocked more divots up than John Daly. Down the roller coaster, Brad Jones comes out of the corner. What happened back there, Brad?
That idiot Henderson hit me. Have a look at the left side.
Well, Brad has laid the blame clearly at John Henderson. He's got body damage there, Alan, so that's not the way you want to get started on the opening lap.
No, and you don't want to be in that frame of mind either. Brad's got to calm himself down and concentrate on nailing the BMW and the Volvo in front of him.
There he goes again. So John Henderson has gone out again with the Vectra. He's parked down there. No, now he comes out of the carousel, car number 56. He's not having the best start to a day here at Lakeside. Make no mistake about that. The two Audis, Brad Jones, Matt Coleman. Coleman coming in this year replacing Cameron McConville. A great young driver, plenty of talent, and I think he will get better and stronger as each race in the championship goes by.
Qualified well, Mike, a 54.1 against a 53.7 of Brad Jones, so that's a pretty good introductory kickoff to what is already an established team.
Here's our race leader, Paul Morris, going through. Time to check out some replays of the incidents involving John Henderson in the Vectra. Didn't get off to a great start, as you will recall, spending a lot of time off the track. Here's the first incident.
Oh, yeah, a lot of mid-corner understeer. He's not staying on the tarmac. I don't know, his approach tack angle is not right. Whatever's going wrong, he's getting into a slide in the middle of the corner and just falling off the track, Mike.
Well, that's where he rubbed fenders there with Brad Jones and put him off onto the grass. Now he heads down to Hungary. Alan, tell me what goes wrong here.
Yes, well, he's missed the corner to start with. He should have been about a car length to the left. and they just ran out of tarmac to actually execute the corner. A lot of momentum on the arrival to these corners. The brakes can't do everything. So if you don't place yourself correctly, and here again, okay, not bad placement, but he just falls off the road. The grip on the front of the car, of this car, is not giving him any help at all. Once he hits that gravel, well, he can forget it.
I'd rather be behind him than alongside of him. Okay, that'll give you an idea of the first lap of John Henderson. In the meantime, here's our race leader, Paul Morris, in the Vasari BMW.
Good handling car. This is the car that Jeff Brabham and brother David won Bathurst after Paul Morris was disqualified in 1997, and obviously a good runner in the hands of the Morris team.
I think Jimmy Richards would have hoped to have started the championship maybe with a win at the moment in the rear-wheel drive BMW. Paul Morris shows that he's always going to be a force to be reckoned with here at Lakeside. He's got an unenviable record around here.
Here's Jamie Wall in the Honda Accord, leading Mark Williamson in the second of the Volvos.
And that's the battle for 6th and 7th, Alan. They're behind Peter Hills in the Ford Mondeo. Well, Patrick Watt sat on pole for this race, and we thought he was going to run away with it. Not so. Down in the pit area is Charles Stewart, and hopefully he can find out for us what went wrong with Patrick Watt's Peugeot.
So what was the part that actually failed him?
It was a little clip that holds the injector in. So when that fails, the injector comes out with a lot of fuel behind it. So I was sitting there in a little potential inferno on the grid, cranking over the engine trying to get it started. Marshals running around everywhere. You're flooded in fuel under the bonnet. I got out pretty quick.
Well, a wise man knows when to quit, and that was rather wise, was showing the size of those flames that were coming out of the back of the 406. Too bad for Patrick Watts.
The battle for 6th and 7th continues. Jamie Wall in the Honda, and Mark Williamson, the second of the Volvo S40s, has been working hard at the tail of the car, but can't get on even terms with him. I suppose Williamson at the same time wants to have an uneventful day here in his first outing in the Volvo.
Well, this is important for a new driver, Mike, and being second to Jimmy Richards, certainly he doesn't want to blot his copybook, and I think he's just settling into the car nicely and doing a very nice job, actually.
Wall coming down beneath the Dunlop Bridge. Let's take a replay here as we go back to the start of the race, and just look at the way Paul Morris lights up the tyres on the BMW, and there was the gap he established over Jimmy Richards and, of course, Brad Jones as they went down to the carousel for the first time. That's what you call a perfect start.
That was a very good start, and you can see Jimmy Richards just coming through on Brad Jones at the very last moment into the carousel.
Another replay from a different angle. By the time they all sort themselves out, Paul Morris is long gone in the BMW.
Yes, the Mondeo, good start, but a lot of traffic, but he wisely stayed on the right-hand side of the track and kept right here tight on the curb so that he's on the right-hand side through the big sweeper here. This is a very difficult corner. A little bit of oversteer there from Matt Coleman in the other Audi, in the second Audi.
Once again, from a different angle.
Everybody with a lot of smoke off the start line, and of course the smoke coming off the front tires, not the rear, except for Paul Morris, who has the only rear-wheel drive car in the field.
Peter Hill's getting down there pretty smartly in the Mondeo. That moved him up to 5th on the road after 2 laps. A dab of the brakes, and they're all over the place here as they exit the corner.
A lot of time lost the moment you have to take your foot off the gas, Mike, and with nothing but fresh air in front of them, Paul Morris really did make a lot of time on the very first lap.
6th and 7th continues. This has been absorbing here with Jamie Wall and the Honda doing a terrific job, and Mark Williamson, the second of the Volvo S40s, has been all over the tail of the car, as I mentioned previously, looking for a little gap on the inside. But Wall, to his credit, hasn't left too many openings. Now Williamson works to the outside, coming down to the right-hand sweeper here.
Yes, this is the corkscrew aspect of Lakeside. You just wind up the right hand down with the steering wheel and let the car twist itself through the corner. Quite a very interesting approach to this next left-hander.
Jamie Wall, terrific race cam shot, Alan. He's busy in the mirrors as well.
He's keeping as much looking to the rear as he is to the front. He better keep his ratio right. Well,
he's hard on his job at the moment, and right behind him is Williamson in the second of the Volvo. Yes, there he is.
Yes, a look down to check the revs. He doesn't have to worry about gear changing. He just pulls that sequential box once, twice back. That's not causing him any consternation, but the Williamson Volvo is causing him consternation. He's got a good handling car, but so is the Volvo at the moment, and I think Williamson is just waiting.
Well, here's a great move from John Henderson. Great scrap this between the independents, Troy Searle, Henderson and Anthony Robson. That's Robson just up in front of them. Henderson, after his problems in the opening couple of laps of the race, has settled down and starting to make a run towards the middle of the field. And also a fairly distant run for David Auger. There's one spot in front of them. Great inside pass here as he goes under Anthony Robson. So John Henderson doing everything right at the moment. Let's go down to the pits now. Charles Stewart is in the Paul Morris pits.
Well, Greg, things are looking pretty good for the BMW. Are you happy with the progress?
Yeah, Paul's happy with the way the car's going, and it's just settled down to a good race pace, and that's what we want to maintain.
Well, here's the view that Jim Richards has got, so you can see that Paul Morris might be settled down, but he isn't very far away from the Volvo. And these two, both of whom know Lakeside extremely well. Paul Morris has won every race he's ever entered here at Lakeside, so I think it's fair to say that he's doing all right.
Okay, time to check out the top six. Paul Morris is your race leader over Jimmy Richards and Brad Jones. Matt Coleman runs in fourth, Peter Hills is fifth, and Jamie Wall rounds out the top six as we take a break and back at Lakeside in a moment. Back here at Lakeside, Paul Morris continues to lead over Jimmy Richards, Brad Jones, Matt Coleman, Peter Hills and Jamie Wall. Jimmy Richards still after Paul Morris, our race leader, a little bit closer this time by as we go on board with Paul.
Yeah, watch his eyes, Mike. He's just absolutely peeking the apexes of the corner. Well,
stop looking at us. I thought he was making car noises as well.
I'll rescind everything I was about to say. A driver at work, well, if he had enough time to look over at the camera, he's not worried about where Jim Richards is.
He looks very, very cool behind the wheel as he heads up to the top of the hill one more time. Doing a tough turn.
Yes, well, he's been thrown around in the seat. The G-forces are quite extensive. These cars are fast through the corners. They've got a lot of grip.
I think he's working on a club act as well.
He's doing well. He's got that BMW well in front at the moment, and he's obviously feeling quite comfortable with himself.
Mark Williamson here, car number 4. This has been a terrific race with Jamie Wall. Malcolm Ray's just up in front of them. He's about to be lapped as they go over the hill, down the roller coaster to the right-hander.
Cars are fast here, Mike. They have to be just right as they come through the right-hander onto the main straight. So definitely Williamson thinking about it, but no, he can't. But, well, this is as close as he's ever been to the Honda.
He's worked him over unmercifully for the last 10 laps of this race. About 7 laps remain. Jamie Wall, again, the exit on the Honda Accord as he goes through there. Williamson is starting to get just a little more on the pace with him. It's going to be close over the next couple of laps. In the meantime, the Volvo boys doing it tougher themselves. Let's go down to Charles Stewart, who's with John Cotter in the pit area.
John, looks like both your drivers are having trouble getting past.
Yeah, especially Mark's case. It looks like the Honda is slowing him up. He's braking going down the main straight. But I think Jim's got Paul's measure at the moment, but we'll just keep going on the settings and the times that we're doing.
Well, it's always easy to have an opinion in the pit lane, and the cars, of course, always look slower than they really are to team managers. I often wished I could have had my team manager as a co-pilot on many occasions. Would have changed the view on Monday morning.
It certainly would. Good inside gap here as Jamie Wall gets by. And what a sensational race we've had between Jamie and, of course, with Mark Williamson. They head down towards the bridge again. Just when he gets on even terms as a lap car comes into play, which makes life very, very difficult for the second Volvo driver.
Yeah, Jamie Wall is driving defensively here, so he will naturally be a little bit slower, and that is allowing the Volvo to stay nice and tight. But Williamson is doing a good job, and he's really trying hard to place himself in a position where he can take advantage of the Accord going a little bit wide. But at the moment, it's status quo.
Off the top of the hill, the battle for the independents continues again. Anthony Robson, we've seen Troy Searle in amongst them, and John Henderson has gotten away from this group. The three of them were together for a long time as we go back in this great scrap. Williamson, right behind Wall, starting to get a little on the serious side now. The exit, here he comes up the outside. You've got to have enough stick to go on with it from here.
He got him this time, and he can keep himself where he is on the right-hand side of the track. You can see there he went right up to the white line.
Oh, you wouldn't even get Ali McBeal between the two of them.
Jamie got a little bit rattled there, and boy, it was lucky that it was just the edge of his tyre that hit that grass, because if he'd dropped that there at the speed he was going, he would have turned right straight into the wall. But good car control there. I think he has been struggling a bit with the Accord, and it was only a matter of time. You can see it understeering through the corner there badly. He's lost his front grip and just not as tidy a vehicle as the Volvo at the moment, and Williamson through.
Down the straight, Williamson starts to pull away very quickly from Jamie Wall. We'll have a look at this on replay.
It's down onto the approach to the corkscrew, and you can see the Volvo on the right-hand side there. It didn't do him any favors. Williamson took advantage of the situation and forced Jamie to take his foot off the gas, and the car went wide on him.
This is one place you don't want to get a couple of wheels on the grass. There's some replays of pretty horrible touring car accidents here. Very, very tight. It's undulating. It's got just about everything in it. Actually, when they repaved this place about 4 years ago, they repaved it with the bumps back in it.
Yeah, they wanted to keep it difficult for the drivers, and it certainly is that, Mike. It's probably second to Bathurst in severity in terms of car control. There's just no time to let up at all.
Getting tight here. Paul Morris working the lap cars, the independent, so he's put them a lap down at the moment as he takes car number 23 off the top of the hill. They did no favours whatsoever for Jimmy Richards, who was caught up there, balked badly, and that's given Morris, I think, about another 100-metre break on the field.
Yes, had a nice time of the race here. We're at the tail end of the event, and it's not long before the checkered flag, so a nice breather for Paul Morris. The lead car always gets the break through traffic. Don't ask me whether it's a geometric progression or mathematical sequence, but always the lead driver gets the best run through traffic.
Whatever you said, I agree. The exit to the carousel. A pair of Toyota Carinas here, Malcolm Ray and Milton Leslie. They've had a race-long duel going here. They're not too far back behind them, about to put them a lap down. As we check out the Audis with Brad Jones and Matt Coleman, who's done a splendid job first time up in the second of the Audis.
Here's Brad through Hungry Corner, not taking any chances. Nice clean drift through the corner. Doesn't give that BMW any trouble whatsoever. New car this year for them.
Jim Cornish in the pit, so one Nissan is missing. David Auger coming through here with John Henderson in the Vectra 56, and a little gap there on the inside. Well, was there momentarily.
He braked wisely. That was the best move that Henderson's pulled all day. He was going to go right into the back of that Alpha if he kept going the way he was. So just getting to grips with his racecraft, I think, John Henderson.
Coming down to Hungry Corner, there's David Auger just in front. It's been a lonely race for David. John Henderson coming up behind him after they're almost coming together on the exit to the carousel. They go over the top and down the roller coaster back onto the front straightaway again. And Auger, I've said before, has had a pretty lonely race. He's done most of his racing in his own shadow. Here comes Henderson making the move now. This is where to pull it down on the inside. The gap between them is finally out to about half a car length. We saw Jim Cornish's Nissan in the pits just a few laps back. Charles Stewart is there too.
Nigel, Jim's had his problems in this race, hasn't he?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think a car stalled in front of it at the start, so he then did the same. And it looks, without talking to the engineers, to be something in the rear wheel bearing type area. Hopefully nothing serious. We had our problems, obviously, with the oil line and the fire and everything in practice, but it'll only take a moment. We'll be back out for race 2.
Jimmy Richards still trailing by about the same margin. Paul Morris, who lit up the tyres and took off. He's got on even terms with him on a couple of occasions, but Jim has drifted back in traffic, and the lap traffic hasn't been kind to Gentleman Jim.
No, even that time Paul had a little trouble getting past the Alpha. That's fair enough. That's what he has to do. That's his job to get by. But certainly Jim giving the Alpha a little flash, a courtesy call, and Auger very, very sportingly stayed to the right-hand side of the track.
Here's Brad Jones. Yep, he's running in third, and you'll see the gap then back to fourth place, Matt Coleman in the second of the Audis. I think they'll produce their best a couple of races into the Championship Series. Front-wheel drive cars, they've lost the advantage they held from last year, so it's going to be playing catch-up for the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, I think Brad's probably quite happy with their first race out, and it is a long championship, so still plenty of time, plenty of development opportunities in the future.
2 corners to go for Paul Morris of Queensland in the BMW. He's on the way down the hill, the roller coaster, and what a race. What a return to action, too, from Paul Morris. Indy Lights last year and back in the Tourers this year. He comes out of the last corner. The checkered flag is at the ready. Jimmy Richards still doing the stalking, but the checkered flag will go to Queensland's Paul Morris. Jimmy Richards finishes back there in second place. Third place will go to Brad Jones with the binoculars, and even further back, Matt Coleman in the second of the Audis will finish back there in fourth place. A terrific start to the Championship Series. Here's the official placings. Paul Morris, the winner over Jimmy Richards. Brad Jones finishes back in third. Coleman finishes in fourth, and Peter Hills is in fifth place. Williamson runs sixth. Jamie Wall finished seventh. Henderson was eighth. David Auger was ninth, and Troy Searle rounded out the top 10. Well, some happy faces down here in Victory Lane, and third, first time up in the front-wheel drive for Brad Jones. Was it everything you wanted, or were you a little lacking at the finish?
Well, everyone wants to win, and that's certainly why we're here, but third, first time out with a new car, you know, it's on the podium, which is basically what we aim for. It's a good result for us. We can build on that.
How close do you expect to be after a couple of races?
Right in amongst them, I hope. You know, we've got a bit of work to do, but there's no reason why we shouldn't be right in amongst them. And, you know, today it looked like in the first race we were a couple of tenths down, so we just go away and beaver away and see what happens.
Go get them next time.
Thanks, Mike.
Brad Jones. Jimmy Richards. Jim, I don't think the traffic helped you at all today when you were starting to mount a challenge, and you had 2 groups that I know cost you plenty in time.
Yeah, they cost Paul a little bit as well. So I mean, you give a bit, you get a bit more or less. Oh no, that happens. I mean, it's a whole lap, and when you come across them, Paul's already come across them. So no, it's a bit of like an elastic band.
Tell me this about the Yokohama control tyre. All smiles?
Yes, to be honest, we had our reservations maybe at the start when they first come out, but I think today's proved that they're fantastic.
Well, there's plenty of races left to go pull back that championship lead.
Let's hope so.
Well done, Jimmy Richards. And the victor of today in race number 1, Paul Morris. You've got a smile on your face, and for good reason.
Yeah, it's good to, you know, bring the new team, an old car, but it's good to come home first, for sure.
Is this a little easier than Indy Lights?
Not really. Jim was right there, and as you say, the traffic played a bit of part. He'd catch up, then he'd drop back, but the pressure was definitely on.
Well done, Paul, and let's check out what's ahead in motorsport. Tomorrow it's round 2 of the Super Truck Nationals at Sydney Oran Park as Kiwi King Inky Tulloch goes up against all the local drivers. Next Sunday, the VOC Gases Super Touring Championship visits Winton Raceway in northeastern Victoria. Winton is home to Brad Jones, but that counts for nothing because Jim Richards and Paul Morris will be at each other's throats. The second round of the Australian Sports Sedan Championship headlines the action of Brisbane's Lakeside Raceway tomorrow week, where Tony Ricciardello will be chasing a double. And still to come, the Shelby 8s make their one and only appearance of the year at Melbourne Sandown Raceway on June 27. That's ahead, so